Okay, I'm going to demonstrate how I've been cleaning the connections on the channel cards on my Tascam M-520. Somebody was asking how I'm doing it, so I'm going to show how I'm doing it. It doesn't mean it's the right way or the best way to do it, but this is what I'm doing to clean those connections. So what I've been doing is actually just flipping a whole input module upside down. So I'm going to kind of pretend here that the board's all put together, and there's just two screws in the bottom of the module and two screws up here in the top. And so you got to take this trim strip off. On the 520, that's 6 screws all the way across. That trim strip comes off, and then you can get to these 2 screws on the bottom. And then you've got also 6 screws across the top right in front of the VU meters. You loosen those and that meter panel tilts back. You can't see that too well in the video, but that'll tilt back, and then you can get to the 2 screws in the top. And I'm going to just find something. What did I do? There we go. I've got a piece of wood that I use that I can just set in here to hold the meter bridge back. My situation's a little different because I've already stripped all the knobs and everything off because I'm doing some other cleaning as well. So normally you don't need to take the dress panel off, but I'm going to take mine off because it's not fastened on right now and I don't want it to fall when I flip this thing. So once you remove these top 2 screws and these bottom 2 screws, then you should be able to just lift the whole module out and up and gently turn it 180 degrees, and then you can actually set it back down in there. And we do all this very gently. And then what I did, I've used these for a couple of different things. These work really good if you're having to do any work on a mixing console where you access all this stuff from underneath. I saw somebody do this. This is just a 4x4 block of wood, got some carpet tacked to the top and some of that shelf grippy stuff on the bottom. You can actually set these on the table, and then with all of the connections still on the back of a mixer, you can just tip the whole thing up on these and then get to those bottom panels. But this Tascam is nice because we don't have to do that, but they're coming in handy here for this. I can set them here on the wrist rest and then set my input module down, and it doesn't shift around on me. So now we can get to all these connections. So this is what we're talking about, all these multi-pin connectors. And basically what I've been doing is just one at a time. Now these are coming off real easy because I've already cleaned these ones. But I just take one off at a time. I'm using KEG deoxit fader lube. And I don't know if it's the very best thing to use for this application, but it's worked real good for everything else. So I've got just a little medicine cup and I'm spraying some of that in there, and you can actually, cover this up with something so that it doesn't dry out. And initially I'm taking just a, audio cleaning grade, these wooden cotton swabs, dip a little bit on there, and this is the first thing I'm doing, is going over and rubbing all of them with that. And I don't know if I'll get much off of this time around, but there's even a little more oxidation coming off. And these connections will be a little sticky the first time you take them off if it hasn't been done before, so just be prepared for that, to kind of be gentle and rock them as they come off. Okay, so and then what I've been doing is, rather than, let's see here, where are we at here? Not there. Let's do, there we go, let's do that one. We can see that a little bit better. Okay, we'll do this one. Rather than trying to spray the deoxit in there, because when I do that, it just kind of goes everywhere, and you don't really necessarily want that stuff to go everywhere. So I've got this thing that I had laying around. I think I originally got this from a dentist a long time ago, and it's just what they call an irrigation syringe, but there's all kinds of different things that work. Anything that you can use to load your deoxit into, and then to be able to apply it with a little more control than spraying it out of the can. So we've got a little bit in the medicine cup, and this thing is so sticky it actually works good. I'm just applying some pressure to it, sticking it down in there, and it sucks just enough up into the tip for me to then take on my connector and just put a little bit down in each hole. Let that sit a little bit. Have rags standing by because you want to wipe up the excess. So I wipe the excess off of that, and then you want to just take and put it on and gently rock it off, and just go back and forth and on and off a few times. I help to clean those connections up. And then for the ones that you can get to, then I'm even taking them and just wiping that off of there, because you'll get a little stuff off of there. And then maybe another wipe there, and then put it back on. So it takes a little bit of time, but I think if you go down the line, you might take care of some basic issues. It's a quick thing to do. On this, it's a little more challenging to get to the one that's down here, and it's a wider connector, and so I'm actually using just some needle nose pliers to gently, carefully grab the outside edge of that connector and just gently kind of rock it off of there, rather than trying to shove my hand down in there and grab it and pull it. And then actually once I apply my deoxit to the connector like I did the other one, I'm actually using these pliers to hold it and insert it onto the pins, pull it off, and using this to do that. I think it's offering a little bit more control. So same procedure down the line. And then, so that's what I'm doing on the back side of this. I have yet to do any work back in here under the meter bridge. Of course, there's all kinds of connections back there with the input and output jacks, and so later I may do the exact same thing there. Once I've done all that there, the next thing that I'm doing, and we'll take and just flip this right back on over. And again, that procedure that I just showed, you actually can do that with the dress panel on, and with all of the knobs and knob caps and all of that still on there. Faders installed and everything. There's enough slack in the wiring. But if you are going to do some work on the top also, normally, let's just pretend here for a moment that all of your knob caps and switch caps are on there. The first thing you're going to have to do is take your fader knobs off, and you're going to have to remove all of your knobs off of your rotary pots. And once those come off, and there's one screw here, and there's one screw here, and then you actually have to remove both screws for each fader, and as you do that, they're going to just drop down underneath, and that's okay. But once you remove these 8 screws here, these 2 screws, and just pull all of your rotary pot caps off and your fader caps, then this dress panel will lift right off, And then you can, all of these switch caps, you can actually just pinch and you can pull those right off. And then what I've been doing, I use a toothbrush and a regular natural fiber brush, and I'll have a shop vac vacuum, a shop vacuum going here, and brushing with either this brush, and I don't think I have it back here right now, but an old toothbrush works real good to scrub each one of those and get all the lint and the dirt off of them. And then you can apply a little bit of deoxit to those and use the shoestring technique to pull those back and forth and work that in. The other thing I've found that I can do for these LED bulbs, the same thing, and I'll move in here. Those, you just gently pinch and those come right out of those. And if I take and just lay it on this cup, and it'll wick up onto those connectors a little bit, and then I can just take that in and out and in and out, just kind of work it on there, and it helps to shine up that connection a little bit. And like I did before, I'll take and wipe that with a little bit of rag and get the dirt off of that. And then for the switches, the same thing. This thing has worked really, really good because, let me zoom in a little bit again, because what I can do is actually put it right at the top of the blue actuator and by the spring and squeeze a little bit on there, and the deoxit runs right down the switch shaft inside. So I'll apply that to all these switches, and then I just cut out a rough piece of wood that I can use to do a number of those at the same time, and work them several cycles to work that in there, so you don't have to do them individually. So that's part of what I'm doing to at least address the connections, and then trying to learn a little bit more about other things to look for, other components that I may want to replace. And so that's about it. Hope it's been helpful, and as always, I'm open to comments and critique, anything I can do to improve my technique and to help others do what's best for their gear. I'm all for that, so thanks.